Catus, Maximus here. This is just a basic video showing the variety of wireless chargers. QI wireless charging pads, usually used with cell phones. They're not the best, mainly because they don't charge that fast. Even a high performance one's going to be like 15 watts. Fast ones are going to be 10 watts, and basic ones, old school ones, are going to be a simple 5 watts. Although so that would, a modern phone would take a while to charge. There is something to be said about the old school 5 watt ones, is that your devices don't heat up as much. It's like a transformer. Every one of these has a coil on it, just like an induction cooktop. And when you put your device on top of it, it forms a transformer. There's a alternating current that induces a voltage inside a coil in the back of your phone, thus charging. The problem is that that in and of itself generates heat, plus the additional heat of charging. So that's why a phone that may be fast charging through a cable only gets lukewarm or may not warm up much at all, can actually get quite hot on a 10 or 15 watt wireless charger. So I don't really use them very much. You really know the issues. You can take like smartwatches, put them on these chargers and they'll charge, but they'll like overheat. It's actually dangerous. And so that's another issue, is because if you have a big coil over a small coil on a smartwatch, then it'll actually, that's part of the nature of transformers, is that a bigger coil over a smaller coil will increase. I think it increases, maybe it decreases, I'm not sure. I'm not an electronics person, but I know that I had a friend once who did that and had his smartwatch explode because he had the bright idea of just putting it on top of one of these chargers, and it was basically forced way too much current and power through the smartwatch. Aside from that, they are certainly handy. With the 10 watt ones, it's really not so bad as far as the heating, and they definitely can be convenient. They're all, any modern car has one. Anyway, I'll start off with this one because out of all of these, they all have like simple little lights. This is the only RGB one I've ever seen, and this is a Walmart unit. Oh, come on. And oh, now it doesn't even want to do it. Oh, my connector came out. So this is an ONN, which is a Walmart house brand. This is the only RGB one I've ever seen. This actually had like a really big weird silicone balloon on it, so I pulled it off. This actually is also one of the only ones that doesn't have actual charging status light. It just relies basically, it doesn't even rely, it relies on your phone displaying that it's charging, but kind of hard to find RGB units. So anyway, that was the only demonstration of that. This is the only RGB one. Otherwise, as far as how these work, companies are changing them all the time. Both these Samsungs have the exact same part number, but one's black and one's blue. Never really understood that. We have, once again, more basic ones, 5 watt ones, original Samsung. This is an old Verizon, more rectangular. And as far as other, rectangular seems to be the exception, not the rule. We have a JW here, and this is a GABA Goods. Most of these, how you can tell if they are a faster than 5 watt is whether or not they take a 9 volt input. If they take a 9 volt input, then they are going to be a little bit quicker. Now, what's kind of interesting is this actually has a 9 volt 1.1 amp output rating, even though it doesn't actually have an extra USB port. It's one of the only ones that actually has kind of an odd specification. But they just have these in all sorts of designs, which is one of the attractive things to people, because you can get one like this, which might fit somebody's countertop or something like that. We have some of my favorite ones, which I think are as far as physical build quality, which is like the 2nd generation 10 watt AT&T fast charger. And I did a review of the newer 15 watt AT&T charging pad. Not as physically well built as the older 10 watt. But still, even a lesser built or lower quality AT&T newer generation one, as far as mass and just build quality, pretty much shames most of these other brands out there. There's a couple here that are pretty decent, but these are definitely pretty nice. And this AT&T one here, I don't know if you can really tell, but definitely the heaviest wireless charging pad I've ever encountered. Other than that, I'm just trying to make some space on the table as I go about it. We have others. We have like this Belkin, which is just designed for you to take your device and set it up like this so you can use your phone in a kind of a standing position. Samsung had a couple of fast chargers of that style too, just like these. This is Verizon's fast charger. This one's kind of interesting because it's kind of a compromise. It's not totally flat, it's slightly angled. Has a silicone surface so your phone doesn't slip off. And actually, I don't really mind this little Verizon. We do have super thin ones, which I kind of like. We have ones like this, which is a Heyday, which has like a little fabric top. This is a super thin one. This is Harbor Freight's Armstrong fast charger. We have this Tozo, and this Tozo is by far the thinnest one I've ever seen. This thing right here is probably 4 millimeters thick, maybe 5 millimeters thick. Super duper thin, so you can definitely get super thin ones. We have another on Walmart one, which is super thin here. And then we have this Black Web one. Once again, super thin, but all these are definitely pretty lightweight. This one lost its little footies. Other styles that we have here. This is UTech, which is a kind of UFO style, but I did like the way this one has a light ring all the way around it. Most of these, if we take a look at this sample here, just have a little light that pulsates there, a little light that pulsates there. On this Tozo, I don't even know where the light is, but most of these just have like a little tiny pixel as a light. This one has it right there, and so you can just barely tell that they're actually on and working. We have this Yumi Kim, which is, you know, a flower, one that looks like a flower. This was made in 2020 and still has a micro USB. There's been a big holdout for micro USB on these chargers. Now we're getting to the ones which are high quality but are really annoying and frustrating. Some of them can justify it. Now these are all ones that use proprietary power bricks, not just regular chargers that came with your phone. You just plug in with the USB cable. Most phones come with fast chargers, at least 18 watt, you know, Qualcomm quick charge or USB-C power delivery. And so some of these, like this Nomad here, this is like an executive style with a leatherette type surface here, have a hard time justifying using proprietary power bricks that if you lose or get damaged, it renders the wireless charger useless. This one's just a little bit more justified because it has a super powerful power brick here. We can see 18 volts at 2500 milliamps is a huge amount of power, 45 watts or something. But this has a USB-C and a USB-A, although I don't think that's a fast charge port. But it does have extra ports on the back if your device is getting too hot, or if you want to charge multiple things, so that some of them kind of have a half excuse to the fact that it's not just a wireless charger. It also has additional ports on it. And I almost forgot to include that I do have some power banks. These are these Idea Play ones. I think I even did a little video about these. These aren't too bad because they have a regular status light, and then they have a little green light here which turns red when you're actually wirelessly charging. And so you can get USB power banks, and this one's nice, you know, it's USB-C. It has these little flip out things here, so you can actually, it has a built-in stand, so you can actually use it as a stand while wirelessly charging. And so that's kind of a neat idea, is that you can get, although it sucks them dry because it's much more inefficient to deliver power wirelessly than it is to have the device physically plugged in. Nonetheless, it is still kind of a novelty to be able to use a power bank and wirelessly charge. So besides the Nomad, we'll talk about a couple of these Belkins, which are the same thing. These use 15 volt power adapters. These Belkin ones aren't bad. They are pretty fast. Actually, I think they may be 15 watt ones. We have both a white and a black version here. But once again, proprietary power bricks, a little bit annoying. We have this brand, which I actually have no idea exactly what this little M brand is, but it's something to watch out for. Once again, proprietary power bricks. This one is actually pretty heavy, not as heavy as those AT&T ones, but still nonetheless pretty heavy. So it is a high quality unit. It's just kind of annoying, some of these brands that are doing that. Some of them, like this Mophie here, this is one of the Mophies I have, actually is micro USB, except for it has this extremely deep, super recessed. Okay, so this one is a Mophie. That's what this is. So this is a Mophie of one type, but it just doesn't say Mophie on it. It seems that they start actually putting the word on it. But this is a cheesy thing where they have a micro USB, but you basically have to use a proprietary cable that will fit in that like half-inch deep recess there. We have other styles of Mophies like this one, which has like an Alcantara top, and it's rectangular. And then we have these Ubia Labs ones, and I think these aren't too bad. This one I don't even know. Oh, there's the light. These really aren't bad. This is like a really nice solid metal connector, but once again, proprietary power brick. And what's even more annoying is well, I shouldn't say annoying, because this is a more basic Ubia Labs. I don't understand the wider surfaces. I think the coil is still just like this. I guess it's just the visual design. And then finally we have a more powerful Ubia Labs one. This is a unit that has a USB-A port on it, so it's a little bit more premium. These Ubia Labs are actually pretty expensive, and I don't think they're worth it. So anyway, that's kind of my big video about wireless charging pads. The whole point of this video is just so people can say, you know, I kind of am interested in a wireless charging pad, and now, you know, you can have an idea of just all the different styles, sizes, shapes, and some ideas of, like, you know, the fast charge ones, whether they're 10 watts, 15 watts, or even faster than that. There's some phones that support really high performance. And then the recommendations about staying away from ones that have proprietary power bricks just because they're annoying to deal with, and you have to deal with this power brick rather than just using a normal phone charger, which I kind of like the idea of this Mophie that it does use a normal phone charger. Other than that, I think these things are neat, but I can understand why not a lot of people use them. Is just because, one, they make the devices get pretty warm, and two, they are definitely not quite as fast as directly plugging in, especially if you don't make sure your device is like absolutely centered. That's really important. You got to really make sure your phone's it's right the middle of your phone's right over the center line of the charging pad. Otherwise, it will charge, but it may only be delivering 2 or 3 watts. I've done some measurements where if the phone's, you know, right on the middle of it, and if you just have it offset to the side, it can be 10 watts here, and it can be like 2 watts if you have it offset just like that, even though it says it's wireless charging. And so that also causes frustrations for users. And so that's, you know, they have their issues. I think they're neat, and I think in certain situations they're certainly handy, because it's just something you can set your phone down on and not have to worry about wires. But personally, I don't really use them. I just kind of like collecting them because I think they're neat when I run into them at junk stores. And obviously all these work just fine. It's just that people kind of get tired of them. There's also the issue that most people have cases on their phones. If you have a big or expensive phone, you can have a thick case on it, and then that's going to slow down the charging rate. So you really get diminishing returns out of these things. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Till next time, Catus Maximus out.